let's talk more about the British-Vietnam Friendship Society. How has it grown over the years, and you know, what kind of scope does it have now?
Well, it is grown not fantastically. It's about 250, 300 people. And
that's quite impressive.
Well, we are mainly working people. Some are retired, like myself. Mm-hmm. But as we often say, when you're working in such a cause, you never retire. Mm-hmm. You continue onward to the very, very end itself. And so we concentrate on producing a bulletin, which we now send out by PDF. And we're having these meetings in the universities, and more will be coming forward in the early part of next year. And we will continue onward doing that, raising funds for the victims through the stores and other activities we're doing.
You've raised quite a bit of funds and recently went to the Vietnamese Red Cross to make a donation. Tell me about this.
Well, this is part of the activity of the stores and asking supporters when we send our bulletin out to make a donation to the victims of the Red Cross. And normally I would send it by bank transfer. But as I knew I was coming, I brought the cash with me. And so a few days ago, I handed over £700, which had been raised by our supporters to the Agent Orange Fund.
That's fabulous. And so you raise this money through booths and selling
Yes, selling Vietnamese handicrafts.
Okay. And where do you get those crafts? Are they related to the villages?
Yes, when I'm here,
yeah.
When I'm here, I buy some of the souvenirs in the shops in Hanoi. If I visit the projects, I can see the very ethnic minorities, which is very attractive, so I buy those. They're the shoulder bags, ties with the hand-painted, and scarves for winter and summer. Various things that they're light, so I can carry back within the limited of the weight.
Yeah, and then kilos. Once you're back home, there's a market for that. And
there is always a market for
all of the profits come back here.
Come back to Vietnam.
Fabulous. Now I want to talk about your experience, you know, in terms of advocacy, and I'd like to know, from your point of view, what are the toughest challenges you've faced with regards to your struggle against, or for the victims, against Agent Orange and for the victims of Agent Orange?
Well, the toughest struggle, really, is getting the message across.
Okay.
Many people in the UK and millions around the world know, partly through the petition and the activities going on within the countries themselves, including America. They've got tremendous support for the Vietnamese victims through their activities and campaigning. And during the lawsuit, they were Vietnamese victims that were going there to appear in the actual court, were taken around to various states for public meetings, so gathering more support. And it's frustrating when on March the 2nd, the Supreme Court denied the Vietnamese appeal for justice. Now I say frustrating, it is, but to me it makes me more angry when I've seen the victims.
Yeah.
And so it makes me continue even stronger and even determined to campaign and continue to build up support. And this is why when I knew I was coming, I wrote this email and a letter to Monsanto office in Ho Chi Minh City.
So, in your experience in meeting all of these victims of Agent Orange, are they just accepting their fate, or are they as angry as you are?
No, they are also determined to continue, because just before the Supreme Court itself, I met with 4 victims here in Hanoi that were due to go to the States. There was a young man who was suffering from spina bifida.
Which is known to be linked to Agent Orange. Yeah.
There was a middle-aged man, an elderly man and an elderly woman. Both of the elderly people quite ill, And so it was only 3 or 4 days before they went over. to the States. And they took part in meetings. They were courageous four people, marvelous. You know. Sadly, when they came back, two, the lady and the older man, died.
Oh.
And so that made me more angry, because those two victims were like many, many thousands of victims that have died from the very beginning, who have lost out in the justice. Mm-hmm. There's millions have been died, mm-hmm. and millions have been injured now, mm-hmm. as we know, from the various damage done by Agent Orange. So mm-hmm. it makes, when you see that happen, having shaken the hands of the lady and the man, having the photo taken with them, mm-hmm. and then suddenly they're no more on this earth. Mm-hmm. You just cannot leave it. You've got to continue, and it makes you more determined.
So Len has spent most of his time on this 28th visit to Vietnam talking to students about what they can do and what they should do to help victims of Agent Orange. And we've got a clip of that, so let's take a look.
After an exchange with more than 200 students in Ho Chi Minh City, Len held another event at Hanoi University. He started by screening the 25-minute documentary Path to Justice by Vietnamese director Lại Văn Sinh. The film helped the students better understand the heavy consequences of the toxic chemicals sprayed by the U.S. troops during the war. Len then reminded the students that the U.S. troops had sprayed 80 million liters of chemicals, including Agent Orange with high dioxin content, over Vietnam from 1961 to 1971, exposing millions of people to the chemicals. He said more than 30 years later, the existence of chemicals can be seen through 3 Vietnamese generations, adding that the chemicals would affect a 4th generation, according to scientists. His talk has encouraged the youngsters to do something to help the victim.
Is there any chance for us to win the course?
Em nghĩ bây giờ khi mà cái sự phát triển, nhất là trong giới trẻ bây giờ, cái mạng xã hội nó là một cái công cụ em thấy là nó khá là tiện, ví dụ như Facebook. Thì khi mà trên đấy lập một cái group gì đấy thì thường là cái khả năng thu hút người quan tâm rất là nhiều. Có lẽ là em sẽ về em lập một group về ủng hộ nạn nhân chất độc da cam này. Sẽ tìm những cái tài liệu, những cái gì em thấy, những gì em nghe, để nó, như ông nói, what we see, what we heard, ask them what will they do, what will they think about it.
Sau cái cuộc nói chuyện này thì việc đầu tiên về nhà là em sẽ phải viết thư, như lời ông ấy nói, viết thư cho Michelle Obama để mà mình có thể là không đến nơi nhưng mà mình có thể giải bày được và nói được tất cả những cái vấn đề mà mình muốn bày tỏ về chất độc da cam.
Some students have yet to figure out what to do to help the Agent Orange victims, but still showed an enthusiastic response.
Em thấy rất kính phục ông ấy, và nếu mà được có thể tham gia vào hoạt động nào mà do ông ấy, nếu ông ấy có hoạt động nào ấy mà nếu em có thể tham gia được thì em rất muốn tham gia.